reports Payne Haas will turn his back on the Kangaroos to play for Samoa. Now, this was breaking news this afternoon. Only reports, though, not facts. But still, if this was to happen, this is a big call.
It's been around today that Payne Haas and also Big Tino were considering playing for Samoa at the end of this year. I know Tino said when he was in Samoa last year he would consider it for the World Cup next year. But yeah, I can't imagine Mal Meninga being too happy with the news that broke today.
I think it's great news for the international game. To build our international game, to get the superstars playing, but I just don't see the grey area for me is state of origin, whether they can still pull on the maroon and the blue, where I think Samoa and Tonga, I think they deserve to be Tier 1 nations now. If you spoke to them, if you went to a Tongan or a proud Samoan, I think they should be Tier 1. I think they should be up there with New Zealand and Australia.
So you're saying that you've got no problem if the international rules are this way?
I absolutely love it.
But Payne Haas, in your opinion, should no longer be playing Origin if he chooses Samoa?
Well, I think that's the decision that you make, and that's the decision that you want them to make.
Rules.
I know it's not the rules, so they're going to play within the rules. They'll play for New South Wales and Queensland, but they'll go and play against those guys, and they'll take a young Queensland and New South Wales kid's job, where they're going to get the experience and maybe fight for a Kangaroos jersey. So then they lose the experience to play them at the end of the year.
It's a catch-22 though, Gordy, because if you go back, about 12 years, I reckon it really started to take effect with Jason Taumalolo around the 2013 period, and he went from New Zealand to Tonga, and things changed for the international game. The World Cup became a meaningful event. I've actually admired the last decade how there's been a real growth in the international game and the pride in all these Pacific nations. And, Gordy, if you take that away, there's a great chance we go back to just having England, New Zealand and Australia. Wouldn't you rather the international game? Like, is it hurting Origin? Is it really hurting Origin? Like, if you take Payne Haas and all these guys that are eligible to go and play for the Tier 2 nations, you take them out of Origin, does Origin lose?
Well, because Queensland and New South Wales were developing Australian players. So that has always been the stepping stone all of our life.
I think you make a fair point there, Gordy. I still think Origin would be amazing regardless, because Origin it's tribalism, and no matter who puts that jersey on, we've seen it. You know, it doesn't matter. With Queensland, they can put anyone in the Queensland jersey, and we talk about it every year, and they turn up and they play like absolute beasts. I don't think it matters who wears the jersey. Everyone will still get up for Origin. Everyone will still love State of Origin. It is an interesting one, though. What sort of... The first thing I thought of today is because there's all this talk about Kalen and he wanting to play for New Zealand, but he's not allowed to play for Queensland and New Zealand.
Because they're Tier 1.
Because they're Tier 1.
And also the fact that he played nines for Australia. That's the issue.
Okay, so that's the issue too, right?
Whether he can change over.
But I think he'd be fine there. I think they'd let him if they didn't have this Tier 1 rule.
Yeah.
Why is Payne Haas... Why is it okay for him to go to Samoa and still play for New South Wales?
Because of the Tier 1, Tier 2 things he's talking about. I spoke to Troy Grant, who's the chair of the IRL, tonight about it. And the tier status has nothing to do with performance. It has to do with your pathways and your development. And Samoa and Tonga just don't have what those other larger countries do.
But they're all in the NRL.
I get it. But like, Gordy, just to your point about
New Zealand's a Tier 2 nation.
No,
England is at the moment.
But they're both. But New Zealand and England are ranked above Samoa and Tonga at the moment. They are, because they play more matches. They just are. But the problem is with, like, Origin was always a selection trial for Australia, but when that rule was put in, there wasn't 60% of the NRL were Pacifica players. That's the problem. But it's going to be...
The game has changed.
And the game has changed. But just as they had...
So
Origin was
if the game changes, why don't the rules...
The rules have to change with it. But this is the thing, though. The NRL were looking at this in 2021 to see whether it was something that they could change. COVID hit and it just got put into the too hard basket. When I called around today, to be honest, the New South Wales Rugby League were the only ones that were interested in changing the rules. Okay. So I think it's a question that they're going to have to sort out sooner or later.
And because they've got for 10 years' time. Could you imagine in 10 years' time, pretty much Queensland and New South Wales will be dominated by Pacifica players?
Sure.
So how do the little Queenslander, the little Tommy Deardens, the Reddits, the Ruben Cotters, the Jacob Lillimans, all those guys, the Trevor Gilmoises in the past that have been undervalued, underweight, the worst ever Queensland side that won in 95, How do they get their chance?
I'm with you. I'm sort of switched how I think about it. Like, I think international football's important, but it shouldn't come at the sanctity of Origin football. That's the problem. But the problem also is you've got players in the NRL, in our game, that have allegiances just to more than one state, or to one state, and it could be numerous countries. You know, their dad might be Australian born and their mother's, from Samoa. It's just that's just the part of the way
Payne Haas is a great example. He's born in Australia, but he has the heritage of Samoa. So, but if you're also taking away, if you take away his ability to play Origin, if he wants to choose Samoa, he deserves to play Origin because he grew up in Queensland or New South Wales. Sorry, he was born here and he played his junior footy here.
Do we think that a player, when he chooses what country, his first country that he wants to play for, once he chooses that, he should stick with that? Like, are we okay with switching? Like,
I don't think you should do it ad hoc. I don't think you should go, well, you know what, I haven't been selected for Australia, so I'm going to go play for Samoa.
Isn't there a 2-year wait or something?
For the Tier 1 team.
Tier 1 there is. It's 3 years, I think it is.
Yeah, it's 3.
It's not 2. But with the Tier 2, you can do it whenever you want.
That's right.
But are we okay with that? Like,
Well, when it initially happened, though, when Taumalolo and that did it, to start with, they did it without the money. They gave up the money that you get to play for a Tier 1 country, and they went and did it without the money, which you could only admire. Yeah. But now it's changed because the way the international games go on at the moment.
I got no doubt someone like Kalen Ponga, when he was early in his career playing at the Cowboys, playing with Jonathan Thurston, Matt Scott, those guys, they're all Queenslanders thinking, I want to wear that jersey. Well, as he gets on, he realises his heritage and he probably wants to wear the Kiwi jersey. So I do get that.
I get it too.
And then a ticket as a 20-year-old kid.
It's a really hard one, isn't it?
One of the finest.
Did you train in Kithera with Buzz?
No, I didn't get the invite, actually. Oh, why'd you have to bring that up again? You're going to get me in trouble.
I couldn't help
Why'd you have to double down with that?